Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Big Time Nerd. My name is Austin, and I'm here with Garrett from Anti-Social Media Club. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So welcome, and thanks for letting me invade your living room.
Yeah,
And,
anytime. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it, so it should be fun.
Yeah, so tell me a little about your background before we jump into ASMC. What did you do, or what do you do now?
Yeah, so I guess full background, I went to school, studied video production, enjoyed it, had a fun time, got my first job out of school in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So we moved to Austin, Texas, and it was good. I worked for this company that did online courses, kind of like online training. But what was really cool is that's actually how I feel like I discovered what I was super passionate about. Okay. And my super passion, whatever you want to call it, is motion graphics. Love motion graphics. That's my favorite part of my job. And I didn't know it was a thing. Like literally when I was in school, I had absolutely no idea that a motion graphics artist or motion graphics designer was even a position that existed until I went to my first job and we had a dedicated motion graphics guy. And he was doing all this cool stuff. I was like, dude, what the heck? That's awesome.
You really do need that for when you're doing coursework, though. Because it really is like, I don't know, it's like 50% edit, or no, actually more, it's like 30% editing, 70% motion graphics.
Yeah, it needs to be, because it's just talking heads other than that, right? And that's pretty boring. So went to Austin, Texas, learned that there was this awesome field called motion design, motion graphics artists, and really fell in love with that. So kept working for that company for a while. Crazy stuff happened with COVID, right? We moved from Austin to Wichita, Kansas. Same company, but they were based in two different places, but we moved up to Wichita. Had a good time there, continued to do kind of, video editing for this courseware, but then also, designing the slates and designing the motion for the courseware, which was the most fun part of creating the courseware, was creating the look and feel and, the title screens that come up and all that kind of stuff. And so then I started to look for other jobs and landed on this awesome job here in Utah at Trove as a video editor and motion graphics designer.
And they do like Blender Bottle and stuff, right?
Yes, yeah. Like Blender Bottle, Owala, Whiskware are their three major brands.
I have. Represent.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, represent the Owala there. And so landed on that, and it was awesome. Yeah, I've really found my niche in post-production work. Out of school, like I did a little bit of production with my first company, but realized like it's not my super passion. I really do enjoy the post side. So.
It's a tough life. I have a friend of mine that's in the film industry, and he puts in like 16-hour days, sometimes 20-hour days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, well, never 20 hours, sorry, that's ridiculous. But like 18 hours maybe.
Long days, right?
Super long days.
And your schedule is erratic. And
And
so that's what, I love post is basically like, all right, I come in at 9 and I can leave at 5. And like we were talking about before, it's like, if I didn't finish the video that day, I can, finish it tomorrow morning. Usually the deadlines are pretty
flexibility.
Especially at an in-house agent or like, in-house marketing rather than an agency. Agency, I'm sure, would be a little more hectic, but
that's one thing for sure. Like in agencies and stuff in the past, like I know, like ones I've been at, like you're working 14-hour days sometimes. Just like you gotta get it out there.
Yeah, hit the deadlines, right? And the deadlines are always super tight, and so
either super tight or super vague. Like it's never in between.
Yeah. There you go.
It's not like we'd like to get this done. It's like we would like this done in 2 weeks. It's more like get it done sometime, or no, I need it yesterday.
Yeah. Or they purposely leave it vague so you like feel pressure to like, okay, I guess as soon as you can get it done. That's the worst thing to say.
And then they dump it.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my background. That's kind of where I've found myself. Again, so my like job title is video editor and motion graphics designer. At Trove, again, that motion graphics part is my favorite part. I love the idea of animation and design kind of married together to make something cool.
So it's interesting too with your background doing motion design and video production, because that kind of pulled you into your new passion project, or really, maybe in a minute we'll ask you like, I want to ask you where you want to take it eventually, but like, tell me about Anti-Social Media Club.
Yeah, okay, so the story of Anti-Social Media Club is I was reading this graphic novel by this artist named Linda Berry.
Okay, I've heard of her.
Yeah, and she's a super creative woman. She was a teacher at the University of Wisconsin, I think, or something like that. She was friends with, I'm going to butcher his name, the creator of The Simpsons, Matt Groening.
Groaning.
Groaning. I
He
really
also
need
did
to
like
look up how to say
Futurama
that.
and stuff.
Yeah. So a super creative guy, right? So
Yeah.
their peers, basically, I guess, Linda Berry and the creator of The Simpsons, Matt Groening, so in the book, she has like this forward piece. I can't remember which book it was that she had that I was
Oh,
reading.
I think actually you put it on your
Oh,
site. Was it
yes.
Blabber 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 Volume 1 of Everything? Is that the
Yes.
book?
Yeah. That's the
Okay.
one. Blah blah blah. Yeah.
I read your fact before I came in here.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So,
Yeah. So that's the story. Really, is like I read the intro of that. I think it was, and she talked about how back in the day, her and Matt would send each other comics through the mail, and I was like,
yeah.
dude, what a cool idea! Like when you have creative friends that just like push you to be more creative.
Right.
And so that was the whole idea of like the anti-social media club. The name is anti-social media because it's a email newsletter type thing. So it's off of like
Right.
main social media channels.
This is not a curated feed. Well, it is curated, but this isn't an algorithmic feed kind of setup.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and because it's so small, everybody's work gets in. And so that's kind of like that's what inspired it. Linda Berry's story of sending these comics via the mail to Matt.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got a bunch of creative friends. This is such an interesting thought of like, let's get a little, and I'm well aware that I'm not the first person to be like, let's get a bunch of creative people and create a newsletter and submit it, right? Like, I'm sure
Right.
there's a million other people that do this type of thing.
But that's the key too, is that there are millions of people that do it. Maybe, well, not millions, dude.
No,
Probably like maybe like a few hundred.
hundreds. Yeah.
But like it's one of those things where it's like I don't know anybody else doing it personally. Like I know of sites that like collect it, like blogs, like theinspiration.com, if you've ever seen that.
Sure.
But like it's cool because when you start doing it, I'm like, wow, like this is something where like this is a cool network of people. Like it's a the cool thing is it's people you know, but it's also I think you found some people that you don't know pop in there.
Yeah,
right?
some internet friends. So
yeah.
so that's been fun. Yeah, and it's just a collection of really whatever people are doing. So in the past,
Yeah.
I had my buddy did game level design. So he
Yeah,
shared
I've seen some of those.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. So he shared some levels that he was creating for a portfolio to get a job, and he did get a job at Dead Drop Studios or something like that. They're doing some fun
nice.
game. But that was cool. And then like Cameron, your brother, submitted some code pieces, like the Kanye West quote one, which I told him.
Milk.
Well, yeah. Which I told him that he probably has to get rid of his portfolio because of all the the anti-Semitic comics. But
Yeah. You won't be able to find it anymore.
Yeah. It got canceled. No, but that was cool, right? Like, and then we've got this is a constant submitter, which we love. This girl Layla, and she's this young girl that was my coworker's daughter in Wichita, and she is so faithful, dude. She submits every month, and it's awesome. She usually submits pieces of writing. Sometimes last month she submitted like some drawings and things like that. So the variety is awesome. It's photos, it's writing, it's videos, it's design.
Is this like Layla's recent one right there?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's kind of, it's fun. It's just fun to get that type of variety.
Such a breadth of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm more proud of the newsletter, and sometimes I'm like less proud of it. But the thing that is important to me is that it happens.
Right. It's the consistency of putting out. This honestly, this podcast is almost the way of that too. Like, yes, there are episodes which I'm not proud of, even at episode 4. This is one I am proud of so far. But
thank you.
I mean, they're all good. I mean, it's like saying like trying to rate children. Like you clearly can't. Like I am proud of all of them. So I probably should say that. But yeah, it's cool that you have all this stuff coming in there. All these different forms of media, like different backgrounds. It's exciting to see it. It's also exciting to see something that wouldn't really be out there otherwise. I feel like social media really kind of tears people down.
Yes.
We talked a little bit like before this. I think you actually, honestly, that's the whole like meta thing of this. Like that's the whole, I guess, the soul of this project, really, right?
Yeah.
It's like get past those barriers of entry, those gatekeepers that are the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the cool part is that you submit something. It'll get into somebody's inbox if they don't have spam filters or whatever, right? It'll get into somebody's inbox and they can read it. And then also there's an interesting part. This is a double-edged sword, right, for the Anti-Social Media Club, is that there's no feedback. So like, right, you post something on Instagram, you've got all sorts of different feedback. You could get feedback like, great, people liked it and they commented. You
Right.
could get the feedback, no one liked it and no one commented, which is terrible feedback, right? Which makes you feel like garbage.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of those, but there's some sort of like signal coming back to you.
Right.
The problem, I don't know if I'd call it a problem, but just one of the, we'll call it a feature, right? That's how you spin it in code, right? Is a feature.
Oh yeah, it's not a bug. I don't write bugs. I just write extra features.
Yeah, it's just a feature. Is that you don't really get any feedback when you submit something. So I've seen this happen where I have really loyal people that submit month after month after month, and then they just drop off. And it is what it is. People's lives get busy, and I'm not like mad about it, but I know that there's something missing in terms of like a little bit of a feedback loop, right? Like a little bit of, I submitted this piece, someone saw it and they thought it was cool. And so my solution to that was like, oh, let me make a Discord. I made a Discord, and it's a fun little community that mostly I comment in, but that's okay. And the idea for that was like, okay, some sort of minor feedback where, a newsletter comes out, people can hop in the Discord and be like, hey, I really liked this piece by this person, blah, 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 and like maybe discuss a little bit.
Right. Just so it's not just a void.
Yeah. So that's an interesting, it's like, it's cool where you can just throw stuff out into the ether, but then also I get why people don't continue to submit because there's not a ton of feedback that comes back. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
The only feedback you get is that you see it in your inbox and you're like, that was my piece. You know what I mean? Like, that's
you
cool,
feel good. Like I felt good when you put our podcast episode in.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like I saw that. I'm like, yeah, hey, look, we did that.
Yeah,
like, that's cool.
To our tens of followers out there, our 65 people that get the email.
That's 65 people that's getting it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think there's definitely a lot of room to grow there. So any of you out there, the link is going to be below.
Yes.
You could go and subscribe. And also, would you mind if I include the links to the Discord?
Oh yeah, sure.
Let's grow that community out. Let's blow it up.
Yes, and the cool thing, this is the vetting process of the whole. The link is to a little game that you have to play. So you have to play the game, and then it sends you this to the sign up thing. And so if you're not into that, then it kind of manually vets you out. All right, it's not something you're into. Okay.
Talk about a CAPTCHA. Someone would have to go program like a bot to go figure out how to beat your level.
To go through it. I'm sure it'd be so easy. But yeah, that'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to see if some people are interested and want to sign up.
So I want to go a little bit meta really quick.
Okay.
Kind of like creativity in general.
Yes.
I feel like social media, other than just being like having that negative feedback loop sometimes, it can also be a trap for creatives in the sense of like, I don't know, like it's such a distraction. Like it can pull you away from the creative process. I've seen a lot lately, people getting more attuned to that, the idea of that it's sucking out our creative energy.
Yeah.
Because we're so distracted.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Where do you feel like the Anti-Social Media Club helps with that? Because I feel like it does, but like I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting because when we think of social media, and I used to have like a little art account back in the day, is that you just post your best work. And so that's another like aspect. There's like a bunch of different like mission statements to the Anti-Social Media Club, but one of them is that you can submit stuff whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Like I don't care. The important part is that you're making something, because if you're making something, you're improving, right? You just need to put stuff out there, and that's what helps. And so with that, with social media, I feel like people can kind of curate their work, and so they're only putting their best stuff out there, and so maybe they're not experimenting as much as they should.
It almost feels like everything is a derivative work, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about that a lot in AI and stuff too, but like, because that's literally just, I'm going to mosh everything together, figure out the patterns, and spit you out something that matches whatever your query is, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like everything is, if you will create what you're always exposing yourself to.
Yeah. What you surround yourself with. And I remember in college, one of my professors talked about how you have to be very careful where you grab your inspiration from, because you can totally see it. Like, I'm a big Pinterest person, and one of my professors, that's my child in the background. I don't know if you can hear him. He's having a time. But one of my professors talked about how he hates Pinterest because Pinterest is stuff that is collected, that's already been posted, basically, right? Like it's from Tumblr, it's from Instagram, it's from whatever. It's
already out in the whole ether.
Yeah, and so he's like, so if you're getting inspiration from Pinterest, you're already late. I get it, whatever. But you can definitely see in Pinterest that there are design trends. Like you can see these design trends. Everybody's making designs that look like this way, and then Pinterest is just flooded with them, right? And then if that's
Yeah.
where you get inspiration, you start making designs like that, and then your
Well,
designs will pick
sometimes
up.
too, it's like it feeds itself, right? So like I'm gonna
Sure.
look at this kind of thing. So like literally, you like pin like 3 things. Next thing you know, the whole feed looks just like that.
Yeah. You see
It's
like a million things, which is awesome, but also is like like kind of
yeah, it's
encapsulates you.
great for engagement, but like yeah, you're like it's sticking you in a like this positive feedback loop where it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like it just keeps exploding bigger, feeding
Yeah.
itself.
It is kind of
Yeah,
interesting in
that's
that
what
way.
we're negative. It could be a negative thing, positive feedback. Oh, that phrase bothers me. Anyway,
The negative pot. Wait, what was it?
negative. It's a negative, positive
Feedback loop.
feedback
Oh,
loop.
all right. Okay. I like it. I like it.
You're telling me too. Like this is along the same vein. Like we were communicating before. Like there's really power in just creating something, just to create something too.
Yes.
I feel like that's what you're fostering too a lot.
Yeah. Again, like, okay, fall back to the Anti-Social Media Club for all my answers, basically. But the fact that it comes out every single month, you can kind
Yeah.
of set, a very soft deadline in your mind where it's like, okay, let me just make one thing this month,
Right.
right? And if I can make one thing, then I'll submit it. And I mean, you hear this all the time from everybody, right? But it's just about making stuff, right? You just gotta make
Yeah.
stuff, and it'll be crappy, it'll be crappy, it'll be crappy until like you realize, oh, it's not crappy anymore. like I don't know when this
Yeah.
happened, but it happened at some point along the process.
Yeah. Eventually, it becomes good.
Yeah,
Or yeah, but it takes a whole lot of. You have to climb through a bunch of crap before you get there.
yeah. Well, and there's also this aspect, and I think we were talking about this before, of like there's a lot of satisfaction in creating.
Oh yeah.
And that's another thing that I'm hoping to foster in this community is that just putting yourself out there and creating something, that's why I'm in this job I have. That's why I love to be creative. Is this there's so much satisfaction in making something and looking at it and be like, oh, I did that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Um, and it's an important, I don't know, if I feel like for me in my life, it's definitely an important thing to feel
Yeah.
like I'm making something. And
So before we were talking a little bit about creative spaces,
yeah,
and I want you to kind of tell me more about your philosophy of creative spaces and why they're important, and especially, I mean, because you've created a digital creative space. And we've kind of
yes,
talked about this a bit. I think we've been beating around the bush about it, but that's
yeah,
what Anti-Social Media Club is. This is a creative meeting point, the
yeah.
globe, just digitally, just put in right there. So,
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. And,
yeah.
and I like this idea of so oftentimes I feel like as creatives we think of like, okay, we need to physically surround us with creative things, which I think
Right.
is true. I think is very valid. But it is kind of funny because in my experience, I feel like I don't necessarily have a space that's like, whoa, this is like really cool looking, like aesthetic and all these types of
Yeah.
things, or like LED lights underneath my whatever, right? Of this like very aesthetic space to create stuff in. And so I don't feel like that is overly important, at least to me, at this
Yeah.
point in time.
Maybe more of just like the community aspect of it, maybe.
Yeah. And like we talked about before, like allowing yourself to have the time to create and this idea of like we've created this digital community, this digital space. It's so awesome with like digital art, doing stuff inside of After Effects with motion graphics, doing stuff inside of Blender with 3D stuff, that your creative space is like on your computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can be like Procreate on an iPad, right? Like
Oh yeah,
there's
like there's so many options these days. Like you could and take it anywhere, right? I mean,
yeah,
even like pull out your phone and just work on stuff. But
yeah, and that you can just create anywhere, and that you create kind of in these digital spaces, and and I just love the concept of everyone's basically got the same tools, right? I mean, if you pay for Cinema 4D, you're paying $1,000, so maybe not everyone can afford that, but like Blender and all these other programs, like we all have the same tools, and it's just so cool to see what people can create with these exact same tools, and I
yeah,
think that's kind of like that's what inspires me oftentimes when I open up a program. I'm like, I know people do cool stuff in this program. I think I can try to do something cool,
yeah. If they
right?
could do it, I have the same tools. I could do it too.
Yeah, potentially, maybe that's a little pretentious, but you got to have a little bit of a
Well,
hope as a creative,
I,
like,
I
right?
think you have to have a little bit of that. I don't. Maybe not pretentious isn't the right word there.
Yeah,
I feel like it's more like you have to have a little bit of that just gumption. I feel like there's this one quote. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's from Mark Twain. He said like if a man has confidence and what was it? It's like confidence and stupidity, I think. No, wasn't it stupidity? Well, anyway, like pretty much like if you're confident and you just go forward, like who's going to stop you? Like you
Yeah.
just got to keep trying, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
feel like if they can make it, like go be inspired by their work and make something too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of creating a digital space for yourself. One of the things, this is going to be a shout out to a program that I've been using recently called Canopio. Have I told you about this at all before?
No.
Okay, so it's this super cool. It's they pitch it. Okay, they meaning it's actually one person that made it, but it's a web app by this guy named Perjan. They have a great Discord community. I'm a part of the Discord community. There's a few guys in there that I'm really close with. But it's this super cool mind mapping tool. Now the thing about mind mapping, it's like I don't know how people usually take it. I know there's a lot of different programs out there that do that.
Yeah.
But this one is a mind mapping tool for people who don't like to mind map, if that makes any sense. Which is perfect for me because
It's a gateway drug.
yeah. Because I feel like when you do mind mapping in particular, like it's got to be very organized. You got to have lines that go like in very specific places, and you got to like group things correctly.
Yeah.
But Canopio Dude is this awesome digital space that I use all the time just for inspiration and mood board type things, just posting things. And it's just messy, and it's just got a little bit of like cool aesthetic to it. And I don't know, it's just a super cool little program made by this one dude.
Those are usually the best.
Yeah, and it's just kind of an interesting space to be in. I don't know if that really relates to talking about creative spaces, but that was what came to my mind a little.
Yeah, maybe like the creation of a creative space, right? Like just like preparing yourself. And I found the real quote too, by the way.
Oh, let's hear it.
All you needed in this life is ignorance and confidence, and then success is sure.
Ignorance and confidence.
Yeah,
wow,
I was close, but no.
I've heard. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I heard that there was this game that was being developed, Baldur's Gate. Have you heard of this before?
No.
Okay, Baldur's Gate is this game from the '90s. It was based off of Dungeons and Dragons, basically, and they used the same mechanics from like 2.1 or whatever, one of the older engines or game systems of Dungeons and Dragons. But anyway, these guys developed this game, and they talked about it afterwards, where they were like, if we had known how much work was actually going to have to go into this, like we wouldn't have done it, right?
Right.
But it's this important part of like ignorance where you're like, if you actually if you actually had the knowledge of like how much effort is going to go into this, you probably wouldn't have done it. But because you're just like totally oblivious, you're like, all right,
yeah,
make it happen, right?
I mean, and that's why it's good to have like mind mapping tools too. Just a side note is sometimes to figure that out, but often too, it's kind of nice to jump into something and then have the momentum of it propel you forward, or thinking, I'm committed now, I got to keep going.
Yes.
Like, do you ever feel that way with ASMC?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Again, like I've been saying, at one point we were in this real building phase, and I felt so good. I was like, we were getting like 5 subscribers a month. I don't know if you call them subscribers. We can call them.
Yeah, they're subscribers.
People who put their emails in, right? And I was feeling pumped about it, and it was like, this is awesome. We're growing. I had this goal to reach 300 because the email service I use like caps at 300 for free. And so I was like, if we can get to 300, then it's going to put me in this awkward situation where I don't necessarily want to pay for it. So then I'm going to have to find somebody who's going to advertise in it, whatever, right?
Sponsor it, whatever.
Yeah. It's going to push me to take it to the next level, basically. And so I was feeling super good, and then like just totally stalled out. And now we've been stuck at like 65 for like probably 4 or 5 months or something, which is fine because it's like this idea that we were talking about where it's just like, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep making it happen. The people who are subscribed who haven't submitted, they'll know it's going to happen. Like whether they submit or not, this newsletter is going to come out. Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of what my mindset has been most recently. Because, we all get busy. We have a lot of stuff going on. It's just consistency, make it happen. And like you're talking about with this whole podcast, right, is like, who knows if people are going to listen to this? Who knows if you're going to get 1 million subscribers? But you're going to make it. You're going to make it happen, and what happens, right?
I mean, my thing's been like an episode a week, and so far I've held to that. So not consistent on the day yet. That's coming soon.
All right,
but
nice.
It totally is. And I'm kind of excited to see where your project goes in the coming years too, because I hope it does go for years. Like this is it's something that I look forward to getting every month.
Thank you.
And I think there's 60 more other people that really enjoy it too. You know,
Yeah.
so it's there is definitely a need for it. And I think people just, like we were saying earlier too, they get tired of looking at things that's perfectly curated to their interest because it gets boring.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking at the same things, you're not challenging yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why newsletters, I feel like I've gotten really into them more recently. Obviously, since starting this newsletter, I had a few newsletters I've subscribed to before. But that's just what's I feel like is so fun about them is that they come into your inbox and, there's no, like I used to get a lot of my news from Facebook or something like that, right? You'd read an
Yeah.
article that would pop up, but you'd only read the articles that would pop up on your newsfeed, right? And so it's way better to get something directly to your email inbox, and then you can decide, like, I'm going to read this or I'm not going to read it.
Yeah. Do you
So
think you ever go physical with it if it gets big?
I think it'd be fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. I know at one point we toyed with this idea. I mean, me and my buddy Brock have been kind of collaborating on it. We've had a
Yeah.
lot of fun ideas of like, it'd be cool to do a zine with people.
Yeah.
Just get submissions and then like I would front the cost, I'd print it, whatever, and mail it to everybody. Like I don't care, it's 65 people. Like it's not that expensive to do that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so we've been wanting to do that. We've also been toying with this idea of like doing creative meetups and stuff like that.
Oh,
The
that'd be
hard part
sick.
about that is, of course, not everyone is actually local to Utah. There's a few people elsewhere.
Yeah. You still could do digital though.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, and that's where the Discord could potentially come in because you can do voice channels and things like that, and maybe make people feel like they're together. Another
Yeah.
thing that we did, this was probably like a month ago now. I wish it was not that long ago. I wish we did another one sooner. But getting together and doing like not a creative meetup, but just like a work meetup, or I don't know what you call
Yeah.
them.
I mean, honestly, programming, we call it like pair programming. Yeah, you
Okay.
just have like people around you, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, like just like when we had, I think Brock stopped by at the very end, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
my brother Cameron, you guys have seen him on the podcast. He came on there too. We should do that again.
Yeah, stuff like that, right? Just to foster
Yeah.
this idea of like getting together, creating the ultimate goal. I feel like would be to have this really cool like art collective. I think I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
There was this one on LinkedIn I saw where it was this guy. Oh shoot, I can't remember his name. It was in New Mexico. But
Okay.
anyway, he did like this art collective in New Mexico, and now it's like totally taken off. And they get like this is the thing with all art. I feel maybe I'm gonna offend a lot of people here, but is you just gotta find these like rich donors.
Oh yeah.
And so
You do.
yeah,
It's-
and so that's what this art collective. I actually don't know if this art collective got it. I think they did because they had the guy who did Game of Thrones or something like the guy who
Okay.
wrote the books for Game of Thrones. Wait, yeah, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. He's an interesting character, man.
Is he? Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he's like a big donor to this art collective, and
That's cool.
so anyway, I'm putting it onto the universe. Silicon Slopes over here, Brandon Fugel. If you want to,
Much better investment than a paranormal farm.
Yeah,
ranch.
yeah,
I don't know.
come
I'm gonna
on.
get flack for that. 'Cause it's
No,
a cool
I mean
place.
that's cool too. That is the paranormal realm is pretty sweet.
You know what, Brandon Fugel, if you will sponsor us or
Yeah.
sponsor him so we can all go, we want to go up to the ranch. We'll have an episode there. Hopefully none of us
yes.
come back with any creepy stories.
An art show. Let's have an art show at Skinwalker Ranch. That would be fun.
Oh,
So,
man.
but yeah, that's kind of the thought. It would be super cool to have an art collective, to do these creative meetups, to do art
Yeah.
shows, to do all these things. One of my buddies and I want to do this. This is kind of I'm going all over the place with this, but there's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of thoughts here. So we want to do an art show for motion graphics pieces.
Oh,
So there's this
that'd be
cool
rad.
thing that they do in Amsterdam, and they did it most recently, like I think a couple months ago, called Demo, I think it's called, something like that. But they take over all of the screens in Amsterdam, so like on the public transit and all these things, and they just show motion design pieces. Yeah, and it's super cool because you think about it, and you think about a traditional art gallery. You hang up a painting on the wall, or you hang up a multimedia piece, or you put it on the ground somewhere, and people can look around and see it.
Yeah.
But with motion graphics pieces and 3D pieces, this is where like NFTs come in and all this kind of stuff, is you typically view them on a computer or on your screen, right?
Right.
You don't see them like out in the wild or like in a curated environment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so we were thinking it'd be super cool to do a motion design, motion graphics gallery type thing where you set up a bunch of screens. You even set up different types of screens.
Right.
I was in Walmart the other day and I saw this screen that was like 2.5 inches. It was like $30. And I was like, how sick would that be if you just had like, you got big TVs and then you just got this tiny little like 2.5-inch screen just like mounted on the wall, just looping this animation, right?
I
Like,
wish you could get them cheaper. I bet you could if you order them from China.
sure.
There's AliExpress or Alibaba. Just like
Yeah.
have hundreds of these little screens all over the place.
Dude, it would be awesome. Yeah, and he was saying like it'd be cool. You put a post-it note like with a website. You go to this website and you watch it on your phone. Whatever. There's so many different ways,
Yeah.
right, that you could
Really
kind of
grow it out.
showcase these motion design pieces in like more of a traditional art way instead of posting on social media instead, because that's where all mine go. I'm not an anti-social media club founder, but I post on
Well,
LinkedIn. That's my social media.
Well, I was actually going to say, like, sometimes I wonder if it wouldn't hurt, if it would actually help if some of this did go up on social media. I know
Yeah.
that's kind of like the antithesis.
Sure, I know, yeah,
But
but I
like,
do post on LinkedIn about it, so it's like,
I don't know. Like, it'd be really cool to see. I know this is totally going against what we said, but maybe this could actually help the algorithm
yeah.
and make it good. Like,
Hey.
start putting stuff up on Instagram or places, or like,
Yeah.
just
Well,
like
this is okay. This is another. We're going full. There's a lot of things to talk about the anti-social media club.
this is becoming a slight brainstorming session.
Yes,
so.
yeah, exactly. So so anti-social media club is kind of like, it's like anti-Facebook, anti-Twitter, anti-Instagram, not anti-LinkedIn because I'm using LinkedIn, but it's like the anti-big social media platforms. But a cool aspect that we've been toying with, me and my buddy Brock, and then just myself, honestly, is let's find all these alternative social media platforms. There's tons of them, absolutely
yeah.
tons of them. Now, big ones you can think of are with the Twitter exodus, Mastodon, right? There's
Yeah.
Mastodon, they call them instances or something like that, or servers, I think they call them.
It's all like it's kind of like this Web3 kind of stuff too, and
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and so the thing I was talking about before as well, Canopio. Canopio is a mind mapping tool, but it has a social aspect to it where you
Okay.
can actually make your boards public and people can interact with them, and you can make,
Huh.
so people can like put notes on whatever kind of board you've made there, or you can make collaborative boards and stuff like that.
So it'd be like a ad hoc. You could totally ad hoc that, just like hijack that, make it into a social media almost.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the kids these days. My wife's a teacher, and she's telling me back when she taught fifth grade. Now she's in first grade, but her fifth graders used to use Google Docs, and they would like go in and chat with each other using Google Docs.
Oh,
like, they,
sure.
But yeah, you could. So you really could take anything and make it into a social kind of.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
and it's such a cool way to use tools the ways that they're not supposed to be
oh yeah,
used,
just
right?
like you should go in. You should take something like, I don't know, like take Blogger, like old school
Yes.
Blogger. We should like totally just mob that.
Yeah.
Make a blog of all their posts.
My
and then-
sister was talking about it too. Like, she was looking at Venmo, and Venmo is technically a social media platform. And she was saying like what I could
Send
do
1
is like,
cent,
yeah,
just
back and forth, and it just says like join the anti-social media club or something bizarre like that, right? So there's Venmo, there's all these weird just like. There's other like micro blogging sites.
Oh yeah.
So many Arena. Have you heard of Arena before?
No.
I still don't quite understand what it is, but I know people use it and they like it. It's like a Tumblr-esque type sort of.
But still microblogging.
Yeah, kind of. And then what's the NeoCities? Have you heard of NeoCities?
Is it playing GeoCities?
Well, I haven't played GeoCities. What is that?
GeoCities is like the old 90s, like early websites. Like it was like before MySpace. It was like you could go make a website in GeoCities.
Yes.
It was like
okay,
original.
I think I don't know enough about but I'm sure NeoCities is like a branch off of GeoCities, because it's the same thing where they like give you space on their server so you can like set up a website, right? And their whole pitch is like, it's better than Facebook because you can customize everthing, right? As long as you know some HTML and stuff.
Going back, it's funny. It's like just circles around, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can even make our own social media website.
Yeah. And there's so many interesting things in that realm. Speaking of like these alternative social media platforms being on those, as well as I had this big kick for a while because of NeoCities of finding, I don't know what they call it. There's this guy that wrote this awesome article called The Small Web, I think it was.
Okay.
But he talks about how like the web when it first started was just a bunch of people making random websites. People didn't really like, know what to do, but you'd like type in someone's URL, right? And you'd populate onto this website. Yeah, and it was like, okay, cool. And they'd have a forum or something like that.
Yeah.
But he talked about how like the small web is kind of coming back because again, people are like mad at Facebook, people are mad at Twitter, people are mad at Instagram, all these, they're just mad that they're being force-fed this stuff.
Yeah.
And people kind of want to like, I don't know, take ownership back in their own hands.
They want control of their data, but they don't know how.
Yes.
Yeah, they want expression, but yeah, it's the funny thing is, like, I don't know, like, who knows what's going to happen in 20 years from now, right? Like, we're going to circle right back around to big social media again.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it all needs to be aggregated somehow, right? Like that is the problem with these like microsites, is you have to remember what they're called, or you have to bookmark them. Which I don't know when's the last time I've actually bookmarked a
man.
website, but
Yeah, I tried bookmarking one like a year ago. Yeah, they don't bookmark stuff very often.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's-
right. It's like you have like your 5 bookmarks that you use all the time. That's
I
it.
know it like gets changed around. It's like, wait a minute, I'm bookmarking a tab now
Yeah.
instead of a page. I'm confused. You know,
Yes,
like, I
right.
can't imagine. Yeah, it's crazy.
So, but I think there's some interesting concepts in there of alternative social media platforms, as well as this idea of like not microblogging, but personal websites. Like there's a
Right, like
resurgence of
everybody
like,
should have a personal website or portfolio.
yeah,
And it's so easy, honestly.
yeah,
Like you could even not using a service. That maybe I might put something like actually if you look at my my other videos on here outside of my podcast, I have a video tutorial. I think you watched it.
yes,
I built
yeah,
out a
yeah,
site,
yeah.
and that's a really complicated one, but it really wasn't that hard. I mean, it's maybe one of these days we should do a code along so everybody can see it, like see
Yeah.
how to build it. But like you really could build a site with hardly any code experience following a tutorial in probably like 30 minutes to an hour. Someone that has a little experience, maybe 10 minutes. Like
Yeah.
you could build out a site so fast these days.
Sure,
And
sure.
hosted like that, just and
Yeah.
up there.
It's crazy, and I mean, coding is for sure the future, right? Like even if
yeah.
you're not into it, like for example, myself, I've had to dabble into it either with programs I've used or like trying to set up this whole community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Trying to build a website, trying to do these things. You gotta learn it, and I'm definitely on the train of like figured.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks so much for being out here today. man. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to chat and catch up too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude. Sorry, we went all over the place.
It's all good.
Hopefully
that's what this
there's-
is about.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's like when I created this, it's supposed to be like nerding out for like a while. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
But make sure to go subscribe if you haven't. Go subscribe to the Anti-Social Media
Please, thank you.
Club newsletter. It's a lot of cool stuff coming there, and let's break 300.
Yes.
I think we need to.
That'd be
so
sweet. That'd be
all of
sweet.
y'all go out and do that. And we'll see you next time. See you next week.
Okay.